Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a look at the astrological energies from October 13th until October 20th, when we have some significant energies between Mercury and Chiron over the next week that I will be talking about, as well as the Sun in Libra squaring Pluto in Capricorn, and a very dynamic Aries full moon. So a lot is building up here over this next week, and we're also going to see both Mercury and Jupiter station direct within hours of each other. The energy is going to pick up and accelerate as we move through this middle section of October, and perhaps you're already seeing what you're ready to move towards next. What is calling to you, what is inspiring you, what is truly resonating with you. And those are going to be some of the gifts and messages of the Aries full moon, which is happening at 27 degrees of Aries on October 20th. But before we get to that full moon, we have some other big astrological energies in the mix. Now, on October 15th, the Sun in Libra trines Jupiter retrograde in Aquarius at 22 degrees. And this is a very uplifting energy. When you have that bright essence of the sun connecting to the expansive qualities of Jupiter, this is where things can really make sense, where you have solutions and inspiration. This is wonderful for relationships, in fact, because both the Sun in Libra and Jupiter in Aquarius are associated with others, people we know and interact with, those that we maybe know socially or as acquaintances, but this can be very supportive in how those connections are ready to grow, as well as what you're learning through them. Because Jupiter is all about the knowledge that we're gaining, the wisdom, what we're learning, how we're seeing more from a higher perspective. And this is happening on October 15th, which is a Friday, and there could be good news. There could be something celebratory. There could be a breakthrough and something beneficial that you either hear or you're a part of a conversation or someone delivers or connects to the good news. This could even be energy that starts on Thursday, October 4th. So here we have an energy that wants us to see from the higher perspective, perhaps something you've been entrenched in. Maybe there is something that you've been spinning in or circling in. This is great for solutions because Jupiter in Aquarius wants to help us move ahead. So forward moving energy here on October 14th and 15th, which is encouraging, which lifts the spirits and gives us a sense of what's possible and what you didn't see before. And because this is happening in the air signs of Libra and Aquarius, this is about conversations, connections, dialogue, ideas, communications. Everything that we need to speak or say is heavily supported with this positive energy. So October 14th and 15th, great days to take care of something, move ahead, make plans, bring something together. And then as we move into the weekend, there are some strong energies here with Mercury retrograde in Libra opposing Chiron retrograde in Aries at 10 degrees. Now, this opposition is significant because it's lasting for a number of days. So it really comes in on October 16th, which is Saturday, and it lasts until the full moon in Aries on October 20th. So what we have here is an important span of time, a good 4 or 5 days, where you're going to want to be very aware of your words, what you say, what you communicate, to not be too impulsive, to not respond from a place of hurt or impatience, to not respond from a place of your ego or frustration or anger. And that's because the Chiron retrograde in Aries is showing us some insecurities, some things that we're wanting to change or shift in ourselves, some energies that maybe we're still figuring out, we're still working through something. And this Chiron in Aries is supporting us in becoming more self-aware. You're more aware of who you are, what you need, how you work. And you could have some understandings of either your own shadow, your own sense of expectations. You could have a sense here of something that happened to you previously, whether that was last week or earlier in your life, but it's lingering and it's left some type of dent, something that is bruised, and you don't want to respond from the bruising. You don't want to respond from the pain. So over this span of time, there's the potential here for conversation and communications that can be more self-aware and have a sense of ownership, where you are owning what is making you uncomfortable or what has triggered you. And chances are that's going to come from someone else or something outside of you. And that's because of the energies in Libra. And Libra is about the other, where we can have some projections or mirroring going on that is unconscious. This is where you can make wrong assumptions. This is where you could not have all the information or enough information, and therefore you're arriving at a limited understanding, or you are arriving at a certain conclusion that isn't fully accurate. So over this span of time, we can be wrong. We cannot have enough of the facts, the information. There could be things missing. And that's part of the Mercury retrograde energy. So we have two retrograde planets, Mercury retrograde in Libra, Chiron retrograde in Aries, in an exact opposition for a number of days. And this is where we have to watch where our mind goes and be willing to say, I don't have the full story, or this isn't complete yet, or we're going through a process. I'm just going to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. And this is where you give yourself and others space and time. You allow yourself to catch up or someone else to catch up. You allow for conversations that are supportive, beneficial, and curious. Because this energy, again, you can be wrong because you don't have the full story or all the information, or you could be in a situation where two people have very different expectations and you need to have that conversation that gets you on the same page. It's like that checking in conversation, that sense of, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Are you on the same page, or where are you at? What are you thinking? Very important to ask clarifying questions. And I know I've said this for a few weeks now during this Mercury retrograde in Libra, because this is where we're all in our own minds. We're all taking in information and going through our mental processes. And this is where we can be unaware of what another person is needing, what they're perceiving, what they want, what they're thinking. So over this week, be very mindful of your communications. Sit and think about things before you say it, meaning before you respond to an email or continue a conversation, ask for time, ask for space. Can I get back to you in an hour? Or can you give me time to think about this and we can pick up where we left off tomorrow? Or even just, I really like this. I like where this is going, but I just need a little bit of time to get clear and to think it through. This would be a very good time to practice these habits because there is the potential for big misunderstandings. There's the potential in the lower expressions for negative or even escalated situations because there was a lack of clarity, or where you could unintentionally go down a path that turns out to be a waste of time because there wasn't the clear communication or getting on the right page earlier. Now, this opposition between Mercury and Chiron can also be something you feel internally, which is where your own fears come up and they get really loud. And you have these insecurities come up, maybe some worst case scenarios. There's these fears that can arise. And they're connecting with the mind, and then the mind can get spinning and go in these different directions and down these rabbit holes because you're in a loop of talking to a past experience or a past part of yourself, maybe even a part of you that was in a situation or experience that was really damaging. And you said, I'm never doing that again. I'm not going down that path. I'm not going to get hurt like that again. So then we build up the barriers, or we get something from our ego that gives us a sense of safety, that protects us. This is where we can have that false ego or overinflated ego show up. That's like, I'm not letting anyone tell me what to do. I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to let people know me or understand what I'm thinking. All of those are blocks to relationships because relationships are about being known. Relationships are about opening up and being a little bit vulnerable. You're taking a risk for someone else to know you, someone else to see you, someone else to understand you. And depending on your life experiences, you could have different things in place where maybe you're not willing to open up too soon, or maybe you're on the defense, right? Where you don't want to be rejected. You don't want to be made into a fool. I mean, we have all these things that we can unconsciously be running in our energy, all these programs and ways to keep ourselves safe. Over this week, there will be opportunities to open up a bit more, to even perhaps challenge a part of yourself that has been afraid to grow or afraid to share. There could be some really beautiful developments and conversations that come from this. And it's because of that willingness to be open. It's because you're willing to share what's on your mind, maybe what you're afraid of or something that you've been spinning in. There's an opportunity here where when you go there and when you're willing to say what you're really feeling and thinking, that can be the doorway. That can be where the new solutions are found, because it won't be through the overprotective ego. It won't be through even getting angry or being impatient or getting frustrated with somebody, which are these Aries energies when they are childish, when they are injured, when they are insecure. Says, I'm going to keep everyone away and I'm going to stay safe and not be vulnerable. But this is a week where if you're willing to open up, take a risk, stretch yourself, put yourself out there in some capacity from a place of honesty, meaning this is what I'm thinking, this is what's going on for me, this is how I'm feeling, how about you? Then you're opening the doorways, you're setting the tone for others to do the same, and you're moving through any hurdles or blocks that are also possible with this energy. Meaning, another way this energy can show up is that you're at a standstill with someone and you're saying, I want this, I only want this, I'm not going to compromise, and that's that. In which case, you've just shut down a lot of energies, and there is that energy of an ultimatum, and there's a lack of willingness, a lack of compromise. But this Mercury in Libra retrograde is asking us to move through a process, continue the conversation, continue hearing what the other is saying and what they're thinking, what they're perceiving. Stay mentally open. And that's how you're going to see some new solutions and some new potentials that, again, you just didn't know before, you didn't see. So we're moving through a process, but it feels tight. The energy feels tight, like threading a needle. And it's okay to go slow and be very clear in your words, in your expressions, in your communications, because there's something here that's also very supportive of operating from a higher consciousness, where you yourself are aware of the power of words. And at what times in your life have words been spoken that can't be taken back? because they've been too damaging and too hurtful, or it's felt too personal, like it's cut to the core. That's what's possible with this energy. But at the higher levels of consciousness, we can be aware of what we say, and we can see the bigger picture, where when you show up in these dialogues or with these connections with other people, it's understanding that, of course, it's not just about you, it's about the energy between the two people. And this is any two people. Whether that is at work with your colleagues or acquaintances, or it's with your family, it's in your personal life. You have a certain energetic frequency between you and every person in your life that's very unique. And you can even see this between siblings, where, you'll have a certain connection with one sibling and then a different dynamic with another sibling. So this energy is asking you to be very aware of what you put out, what you're contributing, what you're bringing into that equation with another person, and to not rush it. Take your time, think it through, and think through what would be the right topics or questions that would lead this forward, that would keep the process going. Instead of shutting it down, what would keep things open and moving? Mercury opposing Chiron can at first feel sensitive, but this is not the first time we've had this opposition. This opposition has already happened in early September, and now we're revisiting something so that we can be more conscious and aware of how we handle situations that can be perhaps a little bit tricky or tangled up, where you're trying to unravel or work through something. So it supports problem solving, but in order for that to happen, it's an active energy where maybe you don't arrive at a solution the first time. Maybe it's the third or fourth solution that's really going to work or be best for both people involved. So we're working through some energies here that could feel personal, could feel sensitive, could feel like you're trying to maybe protect yourself or you don't want to be hurt in some capacity. There could also be a response from the ego, where that egoic energy gets inflated and you're like, no one's telling me what to do. No way will I agree to that. No way would I say yes to that. They're wrong. It can be very much about standing in your own corner a little too much. So this is where you can relax and say, this is a process. We're working through some things. This is an opportunity to practice negotiation and diplomacy. This is where it's important to be aware of what you need, but also to understand where the other person is coming from and to perhaps talk about, well, what is your objective here? What outcome are you wanting? What would be the best case scenario for you? And then you have some things to discuss and move through. So overall, a very big period of time that's going to highlight communication styles. And chances are we're going to see this in the world at large, or maybe you'll see it at work or just through people that there's going to be some tense disagreements, some things that go sideways. There can also be things that crash and burn because they're not operating with the higher consciousness awareness. So if you can be aware of how you're communicating, what you're saying, and aware of the other person, and that they could have a very different viewpoint, and they could want something that's opposite of what you want, but there's always a solution. There's always ways to move forward. Now, we do have a bit of an assist with this energy, as Venus in Sagittarius is going to be trining Chiron in Aries, retrograde, and sextiling Mercury, retrograde, in Libra. So this Venus in Sagittarius assist is lighthearted, and she's in a fire sign. So she's really wanting to move things forward. And she wants you to stay open to what you're learning. It's a learning process. Maybe you're practicing some new skills, or you're practicing putting into motion something that you haven't tried before. This energy from Venus can even show up as a female energy, and it can be someone who has accumulated wisdom, who's had the experience before, and who can be a guide, where that Venus and Sag can say, you know, this is what happened before, or this is how I did it wrong. Try this. This is what's going to move things forward. It's going to be smoother. It's going to help you with any of these clunky sections, or any time that you're feeling really upset or pissed off. Go to Venus in Sagittarius, and she's going to show you what really matters. What are you really going towards here? And also stay flexible, because Sagittarius is a mutable sign and it's open to choices and possibilities. So not being too locked in, again, to what you want, but staying open to the fact that maybe you're going to have an even better outcome because of this interaction and this situation. So stay open to that. Now, keep in mind, on October 17th, we have the Sun in Libra squaring Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto is now direct. Pluto is moving forward and has a sense of what has shifted within you, what's changed permanently, where you have a new awareness of your power and what calls to you. And as the Sun in Libra squares Pluto in Capricorn, there is some kind of challenge or tension, because the Sun in Libra wants a win-win, wants there to be a really great outcome. And Pluto in Capricorn is all about being the only decision maker. So there could be a desire to work together. Let's figure this out. Let's understand each other more. But Pluto in Capricorn says, I don't have time for this. I've already made my decision. I'm already aware of what matters and what I want. So there could be a standstill. And again, that is on October 17th. So this weekend could have some energies of discord or discomfort. And what you're looking for is more of a long-term view. And we're going to see the energy change on Monday, over Tuesday, and into Wednesday. So if there's something this weekend that gets to you, it just kind of irks you or pisses you off, or it just isn't what you want, I feel the energy will be shifting fairly soon as the new week begins. And that's because on Monday, October 18th, both Jupiter and Mercury station direct, and they're both in air signs. So Mercury is going to station direct at 10 degrees of Libra, which is what we've been talking about because of how it's in opposition to Chiron. And that happens at 11:16 a.m. That's Eastern time. So Monday morning. And then we see Jupiter station direct at 22 degrees of Aquarius, also in the morning. It could even be October 17th, depending on your time zone, but October 18th at 1:30 a.m., that's Eastern time. So the new week begins with a sense of mental release, a sense of, let's talk this through. I've been thinking about this. I sat on it over the weekend. I had to move through some things, and now there can be new ideas, new revelations, a sense of, oh, I didn't see this before. Let's try this. How about that idea? What about this direction? So there's this inspiration that comes through at the beginning of the week that's going to help alleviate any heaviness or concerns that maybe you felt over the weekend. There's also a motivating quality that comes in because as Jupiter stations direct at 22 Aquarius, it's also going to have an exact trine from Mars in Libra at 22 degrees. And this is like the energy of a hot air balloon lifting off. And it's time to go. I'm ready for this. We can do this. It's very motivating. It's very encouraging. And you could feel that. You could feel like finally there's relief and there's a turning point here. And I feel that so strongly on October 18th, there is a turning point in the energy where the momentum picks up, but the energy feels like it's rising. It's rising up to lift us to a new vista or a higher understanding as well. So when we start the week, we're building up to the Aries full moon at 27 degrees. And I have that video for you on YouTube. And that video shows you more of the story of the Aries full moon. It shows you more of what is coming through. Because I feel like this Aries full moon is really bringing clarity into what you need. And it returns you to yourself. So during Libra season, and with these planets in Libra, Sun, Mercury, Mars, we can be more concerned about relationships, how we're showing up, very aware of other people's needs and their priorities and your obligations to them, what you need to take care of, what's on your plate. Well, this Aries full moon is bringing you back into your own aura, and it's asking you to really listen to what you need and what you want so that you can feel strong within yourself, so that you're not giving your energy out to other people too much. Libra can be very accommodating. It can be very aware of how to please someone else and how to take care of them or to really listen, be a good friend, all these lovely qualities. But the Aries full moon brings you back to yourself, back to your aura, and is meant to help cleanse your energy. Cleanse it away of other people's stuff that you've been holding. Maybe you've absorbed it, you've taken it in, you weren't aware of it. This is a very cleansing full moon. And it's by coming back to yourself and grounding into your own energy that you're going to understand more of what you need right now. And this helps create the new beginning, the new start, or the fresh awareness that we're right on time for. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's about beginnings. So there's a new beginning associated with the Aries full moon that I feel is about this fresh energy, this revelation, something within you that maybe has been circling in your mind, overthinking it or over-processing it, or even not sure where to go with it. And that's because Mars in Libra is where we can move between the left foot and the right foot, then back to the left foot, then back to the right foot, weighing all the options. What are the pros? What are the cons? Is this the right thing to do? There can be hesitation with Mars in Libra from the overthinking. And usually that overthinking is about collecting information, understanding what might happen, being aware of other people. Well, if I say this, maybe they'll say that. If I do this, what if they do that, right? All the ways that we are mentally spinning because we don't know yet. And that's how we can move through periods of uncertainty, is that we stay in our minds and we're very comfortable there. It's definitely a comfort zone. But as we move into this Aries full moon energy, your body and the energies that you're feeling want you to move, want action, want you to trust your gut, trust what you're feeling, trust what might happen that you can't plan or you don't know. And isn't that exciting? Isn't that invigorating? So I feel like this Aries full moon is really inspiring us to stay open to life, to clear out where you've been mentally overactive or where you've been overly connected or overly concerned with other people's energies. This is coming back to you, coming back to number one, coming back to yourself and saying, I really want this, or I'm ready to try this, or I think I'm just going to see what happens, and know that no matter what happens, something beneficial is going to come from it. And that's because it's what you believe. So you can hold with certainty and confidence a belief system that no matter what unfolds, it's going to be for my best and highest good. No matter how this unfolds, I will have everything I need. I will understand what to do next. I will know what's right for me because you're trusting yourself. So there's also breakthrough energy here. There's also a sense of whatever you've been stuck in or mulling over. And this relates to what I was talking about earlier in the show with Mercury retrograde opposing Chiron retrograde, is that this Aries full moon is going to give you a blast of courage, inspiration, and motivation, where now you're just opening up to a new something, and it could simply be a new part of yourself. It doesn't have to be something big in the world. It could be a new part of yourself that you're really trusting. You're really honoring and respecting this part of yourself, and that brings you clarity. That brings you a sense of what matters and what's essential. And it could also be something you're already aware of. Have you ever considered trying something new, taking a risk, doing something very different, and you just think it over until finally there's something that propels you to action? That's what this is. And with Mercury stationing direct, Jupiter stationing direct, I feel like there has been a shift in our consciousness, and I actually feel it as a diminishing of fear, a diminishing of lower consciousness. And now there's the rising of self-confidence, rising of courage, because you're operating from a deeper trust in the universe, in God, source, spirit, whatever you may call it. There's a rising in the fact that you're so supported. And I do feel this as being elevated energies, more 5D, where there's been so much that's been healed and cleared out, that there's been so much that you've seen in yourself, where patterns have shifted and you've done a lot of shadow work or healing work, and you've shifted into this new place, that what I feel, the message is, and you could feel this at a cellular level, you could feel, I'm so loved just for being here, and the universe wants me to be happy, wants to co-create that joy with me, wants me to manifest everything that's in my heart, everything that I desire. I mean, this is a very inspirational energy that we can absolutely integrate and apply, because now there's more forward movement. So it's looking at what energies are motivating you forward. And when you believe that you are dearly cherished and loved just for being here on this planet, especially at this time, especially right now, when there's so much shifting and changing, and even amidst the uncertainty, and even all the things that are coming up that seem really big, you can always fortify your connection to being loved by Spirit, God, Source, for being in this crazy human body with these wild energies that we're riding through, and just relax into that energy, because that's where you can feel safe. I'm safe to take a risk because I know the universe is supporting me and guiding me to everything I want. And I'm safe to follow my heart. I'm safe to take this risk or do something courageous, to trust myself in a whole new way, because that's how much I am loved. That's how much I am loved. And when you're really believing that, I mean, you can move mountains. You can do anything. But it is something we have to remind ourselves of, right? Because we might not always go there and might not always think of that. But that's the energy of right now, where if you could really tap into how supported you are, what would you do? What would you choose? What would you change? And the ability to apply all that right now is very heightened. In October, we've had Pluto station direct, Saturn station direct, Jupiter and Mercury stationing direct. And all these energies have been helping us get clearer in what we're complete with. what is over, what is finished, what is no longer needed. And now there's this fresh terrain, these openings of energies. It's like, how do you want to fill up your life with exactly what you want? And what if that's where you operate from? What if that's how you walk through the world and you have that belief not only in yourself, but in your connection to God's source spirit? That's how encouraging I'm feeling this Aries full moon at 27 degrees. So please check out my video on YouTube that talks more about this particular energy as I show you how dynamic it is as the moon makes conjunctions to nearly every planet and ultimately reconnects you with what you want now and where you're ready for a new beginning. Where is your energy ready for a new start? The most active areas of your chart over this week will be where Jupiter stations direct at 22 degrees of Aquarius, also where Mercury and Chiron are in their opposition at 10 degrees, and then where the full moon is occurring at 27 degrees of Aries. We currently have 5 planets in air signs plus the North Node in Gemini, making 6 points and planets in your chart in air signs. So bringing attention to the themes of communications, ideas, sharing, connections, things that we've been talking about in this show, they're going to be very active, and it will be important to manage the energy accordingly. So as we discussed, be very aware of conversations, be aware of how you're responding. And if you feel like you're responding from a pain point or something that is a previous wound or something that feels personal, and you can then elevate the energies, move it forward, and remind yourself that nothing is personal. This other individual or people are not trying to hurt you, and there's potential here to mature and grow in your communication styles with that higher awareness. We are nearing the end of Libra season, as Scorpio season will begin next week. The sun will enter Scorpio on October 23rd. It could be October 22nd, depending on your location. And that's when we shift into some new energies and also connect to more of what we're really feeling and needing. So as we move through this week, I hope these insights and tips are beneficial and support you. I wanted to give a quick shout out and reminder that some of you have asked about the Solar Return course. Yes, it's still on sale for 50% off with coupon code BIRTHDAY. And remember, this is a course that you can keep accessing for years to come. And it's designed to help you continue to understand your own energy as well as further your astrological knowledge. So you can buy it now and then come back next year and so on to look at what your solar return energies are, as well as continue to advance in how you understand your energies. So as always, thank you for being here and making time for this podcast. It's a joy to connect with so many of you all over the globe. You can find out more about my latest offerings, programs, and courses at mollymccord.online, where you'll also find an online library filled with business guidance videos. And that's for those of you who are building and creating your own business as entrepreneurs, as solopreneurs. And I hope that my years in business can support you in doing so successfully. So I'll be back with another podcast episode every Monday and Wednesday, and be sure to check out my YouTube channel where you'll find even more videos with more astrological insights and guidance. Thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful Aries full moon, and I'll see you back here soon.